Welcome back to Mountain Movers, where our mission is to empower people to take control of their lives. Through relentless motivation and real talk, we want to teach you how to source your fear into fuel, struggle into motivation, and self-doubt into positive action. I'm so excited to have my husband here as my first special guest as he talks about athlete to actuality. I really appreciate all of the work he's done behind the scenes to help me with the sound system. It is not easy setting this shebang up, so thank you so much. I do appreciate you. So, Mike, how are you doing today?
Oh, just doing so great. Setting up this room for another several hours this morning. Think we finally, hopefully, have it figured
There's a
out.
lot of sarcasm behind that, but I think everyone should set up a podcast station. It really makes the marriage stronger.
Yeah, for sure. But it looks like we finally got it figured out, and honored to be your first guest here on Mountain Movers.
Well, I think you have a great story. Going semi-pro hockey to healthcare is 180 transition, and I'm sure people can really learn some valuable things from your story. So, can you tell us a little bit about how you got involved in hockey?
Yeah, I started at a very young age. I do believe I was on skates before I could even think. So probably when I was 3 or 4 years old, I was being pushed around the Fulton Ice Arena. I know my dad used to obviously play hockey too, so pretty sure he just bought me the skates and threw me out there.
I love it. And, that really stuck with you. You played hockey, late teens, early adulthood, and you played in Georgia, right? Semi-pro?
I did make it all the way up to a year of semi-pro in Georgia. That was really fun. And yeah, I would say that growing up my whole childhood and young adult life, pretty much my identity, I guess you would call it, was pretty much all based around hockey.
So that's really all you knew, all you spent your time on. Was it hard when hockey started to come to an end? Did you see it coming? Did you have a plan B or C, or was hockey, the gig?
No, that was pretty much it. It was my sole focus growing up and even through college and whatnot. Um, I'm pretty sure who was that Ohio State quarterback said I didn't come here to play no school. Still got the degree and stuff,
What'd you
but
get a degree in?
it was in business. That was just it wasn't even like a plan B though to get a business degree. That was like a plan 30 years from now. I can't skate forever. I'll just fall back on business. So yeah, pretty much all the eggs were in one basket though.
Now, just to kind of backtrack to the business degree, why did you choose business? Was it just because it was easy kind of to do while doing hockey, or did you have interest in business?
I did not have interest in business, to be honest with you. It was just apparently you have to take classes when you go to school.
Play a sport.
Yeah, you need to take a certain amount of credits per semester to be eligible to be on a roster. So I took business because, again, I just really wasn't thinking down the line, so to speak. But it was just like, hey, a business degree would probably do something. What it would do, no idea. But it was just kind of, I need to be in school.
So, the downfall of your hockey career, can you get into that a little bit? Was it due to an injury? Like, what's the background on that?
No, I would say it just the jump from the 0.0001% to the 0.000001% is a lot steeper than most people might imagine. And I just going from college to semi-professional was quite the jump, even the lower level of semi-pro I was playing, but going from that to, higher levels of professional to the NHL, it was pretty much insurmountable. So after the first year playing semi-pro, I remember on the ride home, talking to my coach at the time and asking about when should I show up for training camp next year, and he pretty much just gave me the yeah, don't bother.
Oh,
And
ouch.
yeah, so that's pretty much when it was over.
And, how did that make you feel? You just headed home and, no plan in sight?
Yeah, that was tough. That was a shell shock. I was so lost at that time. I mean, I was it was like I guess what people call like the post-athlete depression, where something I've been grinding at for 20 plus years of my life was pretty much just over in an instant almost. So yeah, it hit me really hard, and like I said, I didn't really have a plan. I was thankfully my parents let me move into their basement again because I really had
Nothing wrong with that. A little time to recollect.
yeah time to recollect. But yeah, I didn't really have a plan. I didn't have a job perspective lined up. I didn't have really anything at that time.
So you really could have just lived in your mom's basement, long term and been okay with that. But what kind of motivated you to seek something else?
Yeah, and like I said, I'm grateful my parents let me do that, and my laundry was done a lot more, which was really nice. But
He didn't know how to do laundry when I met him.
I kind of did. Um, but yeah, it was for a while. I mean, I brushed off the business degree, tried to sell some life insurance, and join the rat race of life. But it wasn't really appealing to me at all,
So you
unfortunately.
just weren't passionate about that.
Not at all. And I know, I mean, I worked with some other people that were like former athletes and stuff that said, "Hey, wait till you make your first sale. Like you'll love it. It's like scoring that big goal." And they made a couple sales, and I still didn't get that feeling at all, and just was not very passionate at all about that job or even that sector. And
So you knew deep down that there had to be something more for you, and that just wasn't really sitting right with you.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I was an empty shell of myself, pretty much, just going to work, trying to get a paycheck, coming back home into the basement. No real, we'll say, direction at that particular time in my life, and no, yeah, just completely lost.
So why healthcare? Like that's a huge 180, you basically had to start over and put some new time into your education.
Yeah, so when I decided to become a physician assistant, um, again, there was a lot of support from my family and a lot of self-reflection by myself as well. At the time, I was in my mid 20s and I virtually had no background in the health care except for my mom and sister being nurses, I guess. And other than that, I knew to become a PA, I'd have to go back to undergrad for a couple of years, then to grad school. Not to mention, you have to have most places like 1,000 hours of healthcare experience, which I was coming in at zero. So I had to get a couple part-time jobs. So I knew it was going to be an extensive battle, so to speak. But like I said, when I realized pretty much where I wanted my life to go and what I could see myself doing 5, 10, 20, 30 years from now, um, being in the healthcare and specifically as a physician assistant was exactly where I wanted to be.
Yeah, and I like that you said, harped on all the time that it took to become a PA, because I know sometimes there's individuals who get a degree and they're not really using it, and I think they're afraid to start over because they know how long it takes to get a new degree. But I like this quote online. It's something along the lines of, 4 to 6 years is going to pass whether you do the thing or not. So, in 4 years from now, are you going to be right where you are, or will you have put in the work to get to that next step towards the direction that you're going for? So,
Yeah, no, that's pretty much how I was looking at it. You know, the 5 years they flew by when I was in it, for sure. And I would like to. I feel like that is like my mountain moving story. Is I will never forget going my first class back in school doing doing anatomy and physiology. It was like day one, and we're just going over bones and the skeleton. And if you would have told me before that class that my ankle was also my shin bone, I would have said you are an idiot. Like it's
yeah,
its own floating bone, and it's not. It is
I
actually,
will never forget when he came home and was like, "Did you know the ankle isn't one bone?"
yeah. So I mean, it's just that daunting, harrowing realization of how far I needed to go. I mean, it was basically it was staring up at a mountain, and there is no doubt about it. But I've gone now from not even knowing what an ankle is to being in literal life-saving emergency situations, working in the emergency department, um, and it's just been an incredible journey for me.
That's awesome. Well, I'm sure everyone appreciates what you do. Working in healthcare is not easy, but there's definitely some takeaways that I like out of Mike's story. He had to have some difficult conversations with himself when he moved back home and realized that hockey wasn't the end gig for him. It was from rink to real life, and I think that's important. We have to have difficult conversations. We have to look in the mirror and we have to say, like, my life is in my control and it's only going to be as good as I want it and as good as the work that I put into it. So, thank you, Mike, for sharing your story. Can you leave us with any pieces of advice, whether it's to an athlete who may have been going through the same thing as you?
Yeah, I would just with my story, I guess personally, I don't have any, we'll say, regrets at all about my childhood, early adult life. I had some of the most amazing experiences and opportunities given to me because of hockey, and it really has instilled a lot of the character I have today. You know, the teamwork, the work ethic.
I don't know about teamwork after setting up these microphones with you.
Was that because I did all the work? So I don't regret at all putting, we'll say, all my eggs into one basket and really going for a goal. Um, do I wish maybe I had a little bit of a backup plan? Yeah, that would have been nice to have the first 4 years of school, maybe taken a couple biology classes at that time. Um, but like I said, it's tough when it's over for sure. So it's good to have a little bit of a backup plan. But if you don't, like myself, um, it's also very important to have that self-reflection and figure out what is the next chapter for you. I will say, I know like playing hockey or other sport, you know, when you're in it, maybe the grind, you don't appreciate it as much. Um, but when I had to go from learning what an ankle was to performing life-saving um, critical care in the emergency department, that grind during those 4 or 5 years, it gave me a new sense of direction, a new passion, new goals to do, things to learn, things to experience. And those 5 years also were some of the best moments of my life as well.
I love it. What a great story. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to be my first special guest and letting me work through the kinks of everything. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I encourage you to like, follow, and subscribe. I promise you, every episode will only get better as we learn the ropes of making videos. Have a great day. Fist bump.
Maybe.